Hello and welcome back to the channel. Whilst you watch me put the boiler back in the frames, just a couple of quick things. Last couple of videos the footage hasn't been the best and I do apologise for that. I'm having some problems with my GoPro. So today everything here is shot from my Sony a6400. Not a camera I really like having kicking around the workshop, but I think the footage is looking really quite good. So you might well see more of this. I might just need to get some protective covers for the camera just so I'm not putting it in too much danger. Another thing, thank you for all the comments. I've never had so many comments in one day on lots of different videos. So yeah, it's been a really interactive day for me on YouTube. And this video, it's another one of those. So there, we've seen the boiler is now on. And then it cracks on with the rest of it. So I'll start fitting all the other parts. Reverser lever goes back on. It slides in behind the wheel sets, presses right up against the boiler. It's a spring-loaded reverser on this, so there's no latch. You kind of have to pull it sideways to move it backwards and forwards. So there's a big spring on the screw on the handle end, and then it all tucks in behind the wheel onto the front end. And it's really close to the boiler here, so there's not a lot of space, so I can't even get a spanner in here. So I'm trying to get a little bit of Loctite on there to stop this not coming loose. And the high-tech pair of mole grips, sorry for me being stood in front of the camera, but yeah, high-tech pair of mole grips to hold onto the round end. And I just about managed to get a spanner in behind it just to hold it, and then twist it a little bit tighter with the mole grips. The other end is a lot better. I remanufactured a pin for the back end, so I know that is all good and it all goes together nicely. And here's me just loading on the spring, small amount of Loctite to hold my nut in place, and then basically that is the tensioner to stop this slipping out of gear. Now it's just gluing on the regulator handle. I've taken the handle off to facilitate me lifting the boiler on. Didn't want to bend or damage the handle, so I removed it. So I'm just a little bit of Loctite on the end of the threads just to stop them from working themselves off. Nice job done. Then I'm on to replacing the steam manifold. Now these nuts that hold the manifold on are an absolute pain because of the pipework being in the way, but I managed it alright. Previously I had steel nuts on here and they rusted very easily, so I've replaced them with brass nuts. They're not doing a lot of strength work. The pipework is holding this more in place than these two little 4BA threads, so brass nuts is more than enough. And then it's just a case of nipping all the pipes back up. And here I am sliding in the drain cock lever. This one again slides in behind the wheels down the side of the boiler. Again, not a lot of space, and this is really quite a flimsy piece of metal. I was wanting to replace this, but there's no room for anything wider, and it does operate the lever sufficiently. Then I remembered I need to bolt the smoke box on, so I've got to put this little spacer shim down the inside in between the frames and the smoke box. Not overly sure as to why it has been done like this, but it works alright. Just got to get a prod in there and get the nuts lined up. It is really quite fiddly, but again, this was an instance where 2BA has been placed on it, so these bolts are not original, because all the original threads tend to have been Whitworth, and this has been a later modification. And that front hole's just been a little bit of a nightmare, so just running a tap in, and then just yeah, a real nightmare getting that bolt in. Just don't quite seem to be lined up, and I eventually do manage to get it in. There's definitely something stopping this from going forward, but yeah, a little bit of a nightmare getting this one in, but I do get there. Now I am on to fastening up all the pipework in the smoke box. So first things first, I'm doing up the smoke box superheater pipe. Again, going back to my crow's foot that I purchased from Temu, perfect 22mm. As I say, these nuts are non-standard, and yeah, it just so happens that I've gone out and bought a cheap and cheerful set of crow foot off Temu, and the largest one fits perfect. I couldn't have made it up. Then I'm on to installing the blower pipe and the blast nozzle. Just gently tightening that blast nozzle up with a set of channel lock pliers, and then snugging down the blower pipe. From there, I'm on to sealing the plate that I manufactured for the bottom of the smoke box. As I said in the previous episode, the bottom of the smoke box was basically the valve chest cover, and I fancied putting a false bottom in the bottom of the smoke box to hopefully protect the top of the cylinders. It just looks a lot neater in there as well, and when it comes to needing to clean the smoke box out, it's a flat plate instead of lumps, bumps, nuts and bolts, so a lot easier to keep it clean and tidy in there. And then torch down the chimney, perfect for me smearing the silicone all around the outside. And then I'll bring you in for a close-up in a second. Apologies for the really wobbly camera, but I am still learning my way on this camera. Might need a gimbal, but yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place with this camera. I'm so used to filming on GoPro, but I will learn as I go. Now, smoke box door goes back on. This was featured in my productive procrastination day, where I was avoiding everything on the boiler. So I think that was Monday's work, was me sorting out the smoke box door. So the hinge bolts go in. Then here's my dart. I didn't really get a good close up on it previously. Probably not the best one there, but yeah. And then I've also painted the hand wheel black, which makes it look a lot better. Front end coming together nicely. Then I am installing the centre portion of the foot plate here. It covers up the lubricator linkages and such. Two 2BA screws in here. Again, this has been modified at some point. There's something not quite right with the hinges here. There's quite a gap between the two plates. The hinge in the middle, it's not quite right. Now this is where it all starts to go horribly wrong. The cladding doesn't fit properly. It's awkward. I haven't made any of the bodywork here. This was all made and then it was painted. I do believe this is all brand spanking new metal. Whoever's been working on the boiler previously had some 1/4 inch rubberized cork as insulation. I'm down to 5mm insulation, and it just seems really tight in the wrong places and really baggy in the sides. So you can see the gap at the side about halfway up the boiler. There's probably 3/4 of an inch gap there, so it's not sitting flat against the boiler. And basically at the top of in between the wheels there's a really sharp bend line which just isn't right. It needs to flow better. And also behind this side of the platework is the reverser lever, so it took some right doing to get this buttoned up, but then when it was all tight, the reverser lever was immovable. It was just pinching the reverse lever, too much friction on that lever, it's not going to work. So yeah, really gonna have to figure something out. So need to have a word with Simon, but yeah, it's not working. It's fighting me every step of the way. I already know in the back of my mind I'm going to have to remanufacture this part, but whilst I'm waiting for Simon to have a discussion with him, I'm going to install the ash pan. So I've had this dry assembled while the boiler was off. There's 2 nuts on the back, 2 bolts on the front. I've had to make nuts for the back side because I don't have any 1/4 width nuts, so I just tapped out some 2BA hexagon bar. I've just made a couple of nuts, and I already had some 1/4 width bolts for the front side, so that's worked out nicely. It's got up there, it's fastened in lovely. Now the only downside to this is the grate. As soon as I put the grate in, the grate falls down. There's nothing holding the grate up. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take this off and figure this out, because the grate just falls. So it needs some rodding put in across the firebox to hold the grate up. And there we are. 2 bars, grate sits on it, and it all goes back in perfect. And just as I'm getting the first nut on, Simon comes out. So we have a discussion about the fitment issues that I've been facing. As I say, I've not done any of this work. I'm just picking it up for a gentleman who is elderly and very, very poorly. And yeah, at some point something has not gone quite right with the restoration work that has been carried out on this. As I've told Simon, the reverser's fouling. When you put the running boards on, the splashers are fouling. I need to gain another ½ an inch inwards to get the running boards on. So yeah, it's going to have to be a back to square one job on this, unfortunately. So I'm going to take the reverser off. I'm undoing all the lovely hard work I've already done. So reverser's coming off, cladding's going to come off. I'm going to get this back to naked, or naked boiler, so I can then figure out where I go. I've got to do something different with the reverser. The reverser needs to go down the outside of the cladding. It's fouling too much. So instead of running behind the wheels, it's hitting the back of the wheels, hitting the boiler. So yeah, it's gonna have to be relocated. Boiler bands, they are too long, so they're not pinching the barrel of the boiler enough. But I haven't got enough room. When I've measured this, I've probably got about 2mm worth of clearance for cladding. So it's not going to work. I try everything to try and maintain boiler lagging to keep the thermal insulation in, and also protect the paintwork on the platework out of it. So I've carved out a lump of the lagging there to see if I can get away with just chopping out the boiler cladding. But as much as I try, it's fighting me. It's fought me all afternoon. It's not been a very pleasant experience. I was just starting to get there with this engine. Everything was starting to go together nicely, and I don't know what was going on when the cladding was made. So yeah, I'm at a complete loss. I'm going to take everything off now and just going to have it bare running boards. So there you can see the splashers are actually touching the boiler, and that running board's still got to go in another eighth of an inch. So I'm possibly going to have to modify the back of the splasher, because I've got no clearance, and about 1/8 of an inch, and that needs to push in. The other side, I've still got to push in nearly 1/4 of an inch, but that is also touching the boiler at the back edge of it. Yeah, not happy. Here with the cab on, you can see there's not a great deal of gap around that cab, so there's not really any room for any lagging, let alone cladding. At the smallest measurement I've got on there, I need to be under 2mm for lagging and cladding and paint, and hopefully things not rubbing. So yeah, I've gone around with a ruler, and I'm checking all around and seeing what options I've got. This engine is fully painted, so I can't damage the paintwork, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to stop using that boiler cladding that we've got, because everything needs to sit closer to the boiler. There's not a big enough hole in the top for the dome. Sorry, there's bits need chopping out around bodywork to enable it to fit, and also I've got to move the reverser, potentially move the drain cock lever. Yeah, it really turned into a nightmare very, very fast today. I was thinking, yeah, I'll get this back in one piece, maybe fire before the weekend, maybe fire on Monday. Now this is easily adding a week's worth of work, because I'm going to have to make bodywork, I'm going to have to get it fitted, I'm going to have to do paint modifications, I'm going to have to do painting and reassembly. So yeah, I'm nervous, very nervous. It's it's been a bit of a disaster. And yeah, I am trying to maintain the history of this engine. This engine is 115 years old. It is number one of the bassett-lowke precursors. It's the first locomotive that rolled out of bassett-lowke as a complete engine, and it has been messed with. I don't even know if the original boiler was painted. I don't know if this is the original boiler. There's a lot of information being lost over the years. Well, that brings me to the end of the day. I'm mentally drained. Yeah, really testing day for me, that. So time to tidy up, bugger off home. First things first, I give everything a clean, good sweep of the floor. It helps me to police anything that has been dropped during the day, particularly small screws and nuts. So yeah, a good tidy up gets me so I can come in nice fresh mindset in the morning. And this piece of brass here going up on the table, that is going to be the new cladding. So yeah, tomorrow is a new day. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.